Hello everyone, welcome to SwitchUp as we once again have a look at some of the games coming out for the Switch in this upcoming week. In terms of dates, we'll be going from the 9th of April up until the 15th, and as we always do, we'll first have a look at a couple of games that crept out without making it into last week's video. So what's coming out for the Switch this week? Well, let's find out. We'll begin by looking at a game from the sponsor of today's video, P-Cube, and that is Tormented Souls. This offers a modern take on the classic fixed perspective survival horror game made famous by games such as Alone in the Dark and the earlier Resident Evil games, but here we have a modernised control scheme and a dynamic camera combined with that classic gameplay. You play as Caroline Walker as she hunts for missing twin girls in an abandoned mansion, and you can guarantee that dark forces and unspeakable horrors will do everything in their power to stop Caroline from obtaining the truth. You'll be scavenging for resources, deciphering clues from journals and combining items to help you solve puzzles to make your way through your nightmarish setting. You can use the mirrors to provide a path to an alternate reality and another place in time, and using these can help Caroline manipulate the fabric of reality and fight off the encroaching terrors. I'm very much looking forward to this one. I love survival horror and we'll have more on this game on the channel next week for sure. It releases on the 14th of April and will cost £16.99 or your regional equivalent.
Who is filming these atrocities?
Let's first look at a couple of games that are already out then, and the first is Sky Gambler's Air Supremacy 2. This is a jet fighter combat game with a single player campaign mode as well as a few multiplayer modes. This series of dogfight simulators started on iOS, and a number of the earlier games are also on the Switch, including Sky Gambler's Storm Raiders and Sky Gambler's Afterburner. This latest release includes 18 different aircraft choices with 4 loadout variants, a story mode which spans 14 missions, online multiplayer with up to 7v7 battles, customizable paint jobs and jet badges, and 7 custom game modes. It is quite a bit more expensive than its predecessors though, coming in at £26.99. And another that's already out, a big one for me this, it's the House of the Dead remake. Now I'm a big fan of this series, although the one I've played the least of over the years, without a shadow of a doubt, is that first game, and this remake was developed by Megapixel Studio and published by Forever Entertainment under license from Sega. Now a similar deal was struck between the two companies for Panzer Dragoon, and I must say I wasn't overly impressed with that remake when it first came out, although a few patches have since released that have improved things. So House of the Dead is a light gun on-rail shooter that first released in arcades in Japan in 1996, and it sees you playing as agents Rogan and G in an attempt to take down hordes of zombies. This remake will incorporate gyro aiming, and how reliable this is will be pivotal to how enjoyable the game will be. We do have a code for this game, and whilst I have been too busy this week, I will aim to get a review for it up at some point in the coming week. Let's move on to the games coming out this week, and starting with one that there may be a fair bit of interest in. This is 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. This released for the PlayStation 4 in 2020 in the West, and it is an interesting mix of side-scrolling adventure and real-time strategy. You play as 13 different characters in a war between mechs and kaiju, which takes place during the mid-1980s, although it appears as if the story will jump into the past as well as the future. The PS4 version has a very respectable Metacritic score, and it does have a lovely watercolour art style to it. It's going to cost £49.99 and it releases on the 12th of April. Also on the 13th then you have Rotund Rebound, quite possibly the least flattering video game name ever, and this is a platformer with a retro look to it. There are optional paths to find and free routes to each stage, which basically equate to your easy, normal and hard difficulties. You'll be rescuing animal friends, which then allows you to play as them and use their unique powers, plus there are boss fights where you'll need to bounce your way to victory, so says the blurb. The art style is certainly pleasant, and we'll just have to see if there is enough content to justify the $15.99 price tag. Also this week we have got a Protector's Cart of Darkness, which appears to be a top-down hack and slash game which makes a bunch of video game references along the way. As far as I understand it, you put the princess in your castle and roll it down a track, attempting to smash into your opponent's castle to win. Enemies will attack your princess as you go, and you must stop her health from hitting 0 before you get to their castle. You are on a search for video game cartridges, hence the references, and it does look like crazy fun to be fair, plus the chiptune music comes from Yuzo Koshiro, which is always a major plus in my book. It's selling for £13.49 or your regional equivalent of course, but there is 10% off of that price up until launch.
Load them up with powerful skills and get ready to tear through the goblinous horde. You like story? Oh, we got story. And scene! Plus, blistering blip tunes by Yuzo Koshiro.
Then we have Bush Hockey League, which is an old school arcade hockey game where 70s afros, big moustaches and stick fights are the name of the game according to the blurb. It has an early 3D look to it. It looks a bit like the Wayne Gretzky hockey game that was on the N64, so it might scratch the itch for anyone who enjoyed the sports games of that era. It will cost you £13.49 or your regional equivalent, and it is another game that is out on the 13th. Next we have Nobody Saves the World. When the ancient calamity reawakens, someone needs to save the world, and you, as the titular nobody, must do just that. From the creators of Guacamelee, this released on Steam previously and scored very well from what I've seen. You'll need to master the art of transformation, becoming a slug, a ghost, a dragon, and more in order to complete quests. You can mix and match abilities from the 15+ unique forms, and the game is playable in local or online co-op. It's going to cost £22.49, but you can get 10% off of that price up until the 24th of April. Next we have Run the World in Between, which appears to be a Twitch platformer with procedurally generated levels. The blurb says that you'll be dodging devious traps whilst relying on your reflexes to face the dangers of the world in between. There are gems to collect in order to unlock memories, a speedrun mode and accessibility modes to customise your experience. Now I am terrible at these sort of games, like absolutely shocking to be fair. They feel more like torture to me than a fun way to unwind, but if you are one of those masochistic types that enjoy such games, then this is selling for what seems to be a quite reasonable price of £8.99. The penultimate game for the week is TAITO Milestones. This is a collection of 10 of Taito's arcade classics, with all 10 of the games featured coming from the 1980s. The 10 games are Kicks, Space Seeker, Alpine Ski, Frontline, Wild Western, Chack and Pop, Elevator Action, The Fairyland Story, Halley's Comet and The Ninja Warriors. Now I won't pretend to be familiar with all 10 of their choices, but Kicks, Frontline, Elevator Action and Ninja Warriors are 4 games that I do know well and like quite a bit, so I'd certainly be interested in trying some of the others. The blurb says that the 10 games were chosen to represent a selection of genres or a breakthrough in development or gaming history, and whilst it doesn't mention this, I do hope there is some sort of gallery mode or dive into the history of each game too. It will sell for £34.99 or your regional equivalent, and it releases on the 15th. And finally for the week then, we have a game called Formula Retro Racing. This has been heavily inspired by Virtua Racing by the looks of it, with that distinctive 3D polygon style, and it says that it allows for up to 4 players in split screen local multiplayer. It has 8 unique tracks, which is a nice step up from Virtua Racers 3, and it has online global leaderboards to go with it. It goes on to say that there is a high frame rate, but it doesn't commit itself to what that would be. Virtua Racing runs at a very smooth 60 on the Switch, and it could potentially be a decent alternative to the game that inspired it. It will cost £11.99 or your regional equivalent, which for 8 different tracks isn't necessarily too much as long as the frame rate holds up, of course. This is also out on the 15th. So there you have it, another week of Nintendo Switch releases. Do any of these games interest you? Will you be picking any of them up? Please do let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget, if you are looking for eShop credit, you can use our website, switchup.gg. A link to it is in the top pinned comment, and hopefully we've been able to secure another month of 10% off of that price, so you can save yourself a bit and help the channel out at the same time, which of course is very much appreciated. A big thank you to P-Cube for sponsoring this video. Don't forget about their game Tormented Souls coming out next week. As I said, we will have a bit more coverage of that game to come in the week at hand. A quick thank you to our Patreons as always for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.